Well, thank you everyone for joining us to another Veterans Helping Veterans webinar hosted by TRIAD InfoSec. I'd like to welcome Jason Rory, the CEO and founder of TRIAD InfoSec, Michael Goodrich, the CEO and founder of Goodrich Financial, and Henry Ba, the marketing extraordinaire with Link Mode Marketing. Thank you guys for joining our panel today. If you'd like to give us a brief introduction of who you are, what you do, what your business does, and then we'll get started.
Jason, you first.
Okay, I'll go first. Jason Roy, founder, CEO of TRIAD InfoSec, U.S. Navy veteran. I've been in the IT/cybersecurity industry for probably the past 25 years. I've started various technology companies in the past, made exits from those companies, and currently founded TRIAD InfoSec to focus on governance, risk management, and compliance services for around cybersecurity for the small, medium business sector.
Awesome. Michael Goodrich. I run Goodrich Financial Advisory, provide financial planning and analysis services and wealth management to business owner clients, provide a bunch of forward-looking analysis, strategic growth planning, tax planning, exit planning, and benefit planning for employees.
Hey everybody, my name is Henry Bond. I'm a Marine Corps veteran with a digital marketing agency, helping small businesses who have trouble finding clients online build a better marketing strategy so that you can find those clients, make more money, grow your business.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. So I'm Joshua Wathen. I'm the cybersecurity GRC manager with TRIAD InfoSec. Cut my teeth in the military as a Green Beret and have been kind of focused on leadership and connecting ever since. It's my pleasure to talk to these gentlemen today and talk to you, our listeners. So what we're going to do for you today is we're going to talk about business growth. So we're going to use a case study of a fitness business. We're going to leave it pretty general so that we can discover different ways to start a fitness business, especially being that all veterans should have some sort of fitness knowledge. So if you're looking to start a business and you're not sure what to look at, this will be a good conversation to listen to. You may figure out that that's not the business for you or that's right up your alley. So the first thing is I'd like to discuss the types of businesses that I could start if I wanted to get into the fitness industry. Should I open up a gym? Should I be a personal trainer? Should I buy a franchise? You know, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are based on, Jason, your knowledge of building processes. Mike, your knowledge of capital infrastructure, how much money it's going to take to start a business versus the returns. And Henry, what are the benefits to marketing? How would I go about that differently from a different type of business? And what would your general recommendation be? You guys can just jump in whenever you feel led to.
I was like, well, if you want to start all the way square one, talk about capital markets and how to actually fund this thing, there's a couple of different ways to go about this. If you have, call it 40 to 80 grand and you're trying to roll into this, well, first off, do you have in cash? What does your personal credit look like? Do you have cash on hand? Do you have retirement accounts that you can borrow against for this? Like, what is your strategy to actually fund this thing? Going to a bank with a piece of paper and saying, hey, I'm going to open up a gym and I currently don't have any assets and you have no idea if I'm going to pay you back or not, but it'd be really sweet if you give me $250,000. It's not really going to buff out super well. So kind of depending on how you want to approach this, you could start in sales and kind of run your own business that way for an established company, kind of figure out what you like and what you don't like. If you love it and you want to go down the franchise route where headquarters or the mother company handles 80% of the back office stuff and you just focus on filling your gym and selling memberships and you get your cut and you ride off into the sunset, awesome. Or if you actually want to open up your own gym, what makes you different from somebody else? Because if you build it, doesn't mean that they're just going to show up. You need to have a plan if you're going to buy the building, which again, without any kind of revenue track record, is be very difficult. What are your leasing options? There was a 24-hour fitness that went bankrupt from me during COVID, and the people who owned the building wanted 70 grand a month for a lease payment. So like, what are you actually looking at, and how much runway do you think you're actually going to need to get to maximum monthly earning potential? What is your actual draw? because everyone thinks that putting a couple of posts on Instagram is actually going to fill this thing. And are you paying somebody else to actually come in and fill it? So those are all the things that you need to take into account before you even start.
Yeah,
So
I
what's
mean,
runway mean? Oh, I'm sorry, Henry. I just wanted to clarify one thing Michael said.
So
What is
runway,
runway?
so runway is when you have an assumed negative burn rate. So basically, you have $100,000 in cash. You know you're going to burn X amount of dollars every month. So you take that dollar amount divided by the total capital you have, and you have an X amount of months of operations that you can last before you go bankrupt. So,
Okay.
do you have 12 months to make this work? Do you have 18 months to make this work? Do you have 24 months to make this work? And then after you get it to work and you have 24 months of revenue history, at that point, you can then entertain approaching a bank and getting growth capital.
yeah.
Okay, that helps a lot.
So aside from the runway, I mean, Michael kind of hit the nail on the head right there, right? Like just because you build something, it doesn't mean people are going to show up. The whole like field of dreams, like if you build it, they will come. That's not really true. I mean, if you build it and you do great marketing, then they will come, kind of thing, right? If you promote your business well, if you, I think the term now is like if you build it right, do some great marketing, they will come. And depending on what you want to build, whether you want to do personal training, you want to build your own gym, you want to do a franchise, all of them will require a level of market research, right? They're figuring out what's already in your area and how you're going to compete in the area where you want to build your gym or provide, personal training or whatever it is. I mean, you have, ask around, and, for your friends and family, what's the going rate in your area? So if you decide to open up a gym, how much money is going to take for you to open up the gym and how much money you're going to willing to put aside to market your gym, to promote it, to get people in through the door. So there's a lot of factors to take into account on, what you actually want to do, and depending on your runway or your cash flow that you want to bring in, just depends on what kind of business you want to run.
Yeah, and I'll
Did
throw
that
in,
help?
like, now that you've built it, now that you have people to come, how are you going to manage the gym, let's say? That'll be part of your runway as well, because there's only so much time in the day. You're only one person. So there's only so many training sessions you can do as an individual, in addition to running the business. So part of your runway needs to be capital for payroll. So what you need to do is be as efficient as possible if you want to hit those revenue numbers, the profit numbers that you need to, and that building systems, building processes that then you can train staff on to do it your way, even though you can't do it, is going to be a really key piece, in my opinion, on how you grow, is to do trust and do delegation. Make sure they're doing it your way, because it's your baby, it's your business. You can't do everything yourself, so people.
Yeah, 100%. And then on top of that, you need to have a plan. Are you hiring somebody immediately and adding that to your burn? Or are you going to try and run this thing solo at first? And then you start slowly bringing on people? Like, obviously, personal training fees alone is not going to keep the lights on in your gym. So you're going to need some kind of baseline membership. And what does that look like? What is the promotional draw? So the offer needs to make sense to the client in your area, and it needs to immediately have perceived value to it. And then after you get those squared away, and then you go to somebody like Henry and you turn up the marketing and the advertising to get people to show up, because it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and most people don't realize this, right? Like gyms are communities. So what kind of community do you want to build within your gym? You got to think about that, right? Like it's the whole like culture fit thing.
And are those people in your area?
And are those people in your area? If you want to be like, well, I'm gonna build a CrossFit gym, or I want to build like a gym for nerds, or whatever it is, like what kind of market is there in the area that you want to build your business in?
Yeah. And you can look at lower barrier of entry, right? Depends on what you're passionate about. You can open a gym, but maybe you're not passionate about training people on how to work out. Maybe just the idea of the gym, the membership, the recurring revenue, that's what's attractive to you. If you do really have a passion for personal training, maybe you go that route first. Maybe you become a personal trainer, because it's a lower barrier of entry when you're looking at startup costs. you go around, you market yourself. Yeah, you definitely have to do that. You have to build a brand within yourself. You're helping people, you're gaining that following, and then maybe it then scales into, starting your own gym. I mean, very similar to a person who has a passion for cooking. They start with a food truck. It's much cheaper than a brick and mortar restaurant, but they may grow into that restaurant, then a second location, then a third. So it just depends, what you're passionate about, really, what you want to follow.
I'm not gonna lie, I like the idea of a fleet of food trucks. You just keep
Yeah.
scaling more food trucks.
You start at one, right? You start at whatever. I don't know. I know if you guys know who Dave's Hot Chicken is. I'm sorry, Dave's Hot Chicken. So they're a franchise. They're a nationwide chain now. But I remember them as a little food stand in a parking lot in East Hollywood, right? They had this little corner of in a back end parking lot. They were just slaying hot chicken like 2 days out of the week. And like 5-6 years later, I mean, I see 4 or 5 locations in every city that I visit. So it's just interesting. You're talking about startup costs and things like that. Is you want to start small, right? You want to test the market. So if you want to start a moving company, buy a truck and start
And a lot of insurance.
and a lot of insurance.
Right.
Talk to the financial guy. Buy a truck and like start moving your neighbors around, right? If you want to start you want to get in a restaurant, get a food stand and start, selling food or whatever. So whatever the lowest barrier entry for you to, test your product to the market and see if there's a fit.
That makes a lot of sense. So one thing I can tell you about all of the information that you guys just gave us is I am now scared to death to go start my own business. So I want to talk about maybe how you guys got started. In my mind, based on the information you just gave me, if I wanted to start a fitness company, especially if I have a family, even if I've got a couple $100,000 saved, I think based on your advice, it would be wise to go and get a job at a gym, doing sales to make sure that I know how to sell and get customers, learn how that gym is made, and learn all the different opportunities that are available. Because one thing that popped into my head as you guys were talking with building a community and it having to be local and having capital for a runway for not only a location, but all the machines I'm going to need and the marketing I'm going to need. I mean, that sounds like a lot of money up front and a lot of risk. But maybe I just want to sell gym products.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I don't know. But I
Well-
kind of like you guys to give us a little bit of advice on the difference between slow growth and bootstrapping versus a large investment that turns on a business immediately, and kind of give our viewers a little bit of understanding that there is a much slower way to grow a business that's less risky. And then there's the fast, hey, I've got a rich uncle that said he'll give me $1 million a day.
Yeah. So, well, one, I would almost argue for the slow initially before you put gas on it from your rich uncle to make sure that the fundamentals of the idea that you have actually work. And just like you said, there's a bunch of risk, which is also why it's hard to get a loan. And normally when you have a rich uncle who wants to buy in, you're going to give a decent amount of equity towards your rich uncle. It's like a not predatory version of Shark Tank. So where Mr. Wonderful is trying to rake you over the coals constantly with some half-baked put together idea with a perpetuity and royalty. But that being said, starting off, like what you just said, starting off in sales or building your community, you're figuring out what you like while you also have a 9-to-5 job. Many people's businesses start off as side hustles and then they evolve into something large. Like if you were a tech bro and you're just the greatest coder, like God's gift to earth, why, like, that personality type is generally very risk adverse. You're going to have a separate machine at the house that you're going to do your coding on in your spare time to build your minimum viable product to make sure it works. You're going to shop it around and get a bunch of feedback, and then you pour gasoline from your rich uncle on it. So if you take that approach to the gym, unless if your rich uncle has money and then you're going to go buy a bunch of gold gym or Planet Fitness, or actually Planet Fitness is incredibly profitable because their entire business model is, I'm going to charge you $9 a month for you not to show up. Because they keep out the people who actually show up to the gym, which is your bodybuilders and powerlifters. But whatever business model you like, you got to figure out what makes you unique. So like, what makes you different than the Gold's Gym? Because you just sat there for 9 months selling Gold Gym memberships. Well, you realize that, well, maybe I'm going to sell whatever special abs in 3 months, get ready for the summer. I know this is not timely because summer's already here, but at least down here in Texas it is. But hey, it's $600. If you don't see the weight loss you want in 3 months, you're going to get your money back. And then at the end of that, and then also talking about supplements scale well, where you can sell supplements on the top, or not your own supplements. I'm talking about just having stuff there for the patron to spend their money on, where you actually have a margin on it. So that would be, and then the slow growth version of that without the rich uncle is you spend more time in sales than probably what you want to actually get good at it and get all the reps in. And then you end up leasing a small gym, whether it be open air, whatever, warehouse gym. They're all popular in commercials in the toilet. So leasing warehouse space is actually not a bad idea right now. You get used gym equipment because it's an open air gym, so people don't care if it's rusty as long as it works, and then build it up from there. And then eventually you end up with a large following where you can buy the nice building next door and open up a nice air conditioned gym for whatever anybody wants. But there's progressions to it. You don't just show up with $3 million, set it on fire, open up a nice gym, and then nobody shows up, and then you're hemorrhaging 230 grand a month.
That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, yeah, I started my company, or as a freelancer, right? I mean, I was helping a friend with his online yoga training company, just doing like social media and stuff like that. And I was doing this for free because, I had nothing, right? I didn't have any testimonials, I had no experience, I had nothing. So I was just like testing these like concepts out, see if they like work and see if something that I want to do. And then eventually, he blew up social media, and that was like the coolest thing ever. And I was like, oh man, like what else can I learn about digital marketing that I can use to help other business owners? So, as I learned more, as I got more successes, I started charging clients more and more. And that's how I bootstrapped my company, using the money I earned from clients, put it back in the company to grow. And if you're trying to start, another business, like, if you're trying to get into personal training, right? I have a friend in Virginia. This is a case study. I have a friend in Virginia who is a personal trainer, and he was real smart in marketing. He was real smart with copywriting. And after a couple of years, like his personal training, like he got real busy just with his personal training business. So he hired another personal trainer on and started farming out his new clients to them. And then as that second personal trainer got busy, he hired more personal trainers. So my buddy doesn't do training anymore. He just runs the business now. He has five or 10 personal trainers under him that he just passes clients off to as they come in. So that's one. If you want to do personal training, or if you want to start a business, go figure out a way to start slow, and then as you get busier, as you get more successful, figure out a way how to grow your business so that you're not just doing that work, but you're actually running and growing your business on your own.
That makes a lot of sense. Jason, you got any thoughts around bootstrapping?
Yeah. I mean, well, that's how my last company started. So, I don't really have any experience with the rich uncles. I don't have any of those, nor have I really ever started a business that required a lot of capital to get going. I didn't need a building, didn't need equipment, and everything I've done has all been service related. So you're really just kind of selling your knowledge in a sense, right? So yeah, I bootstrapped. My last company, when I started it back in 2006, I took a little bit. I know Michael, you'll hate me for this, but a little bit of a cash advance off of a credit card. And, I bought business cards and some old school trifold brochures. And, I just started networking and offering to fix people's computers. And, finally started getting a little bit of attention. And I was doing it as a side hustle, to test it out. Is this really going to work? I maintained a full-time job for probably the first 2.5 years of starting the company. I was just doing it in the evenings, on the weekends, just, whenever I could do it, till it got to the point where, I was kind of faced with that decision to leave the corporate job and take the risk or not. I took the risk, and, basically over the next 16 years, I turned, that cash advance into a multi-million-dollar IT company.
Yeah.
But it was all around bootstrapping and testing the waters and going slow, and, being kind of strategic with your hiring as well. Like Michael talked about, just, do you want to run the race and hire a bunch of people up front? For me, I got to the point where I felt like I was almost getting to the point where I was too busy. So I got a part-time contractor to help out, kind of filled the gap till we grew a little bit more. Then I brought him on full-time, and then rinse and repeat, that kind of process. So it's slow growth with the company, testing the waters, but once you see it successful, then you want to, take as much as you can revenue wise and reinvest it in the company for your marketing efforts to be able to grow, because now you can handle that scale because you've developed your processes, right? You have everything documented and a training program in place to be able to bring people on, get them up to speed with the way you want things done, because if they follow this process, they will be successful, the company will be successful, the clients will be happy, and you'll keep growing. And that was really the cornerstone of my last company and what made it successful from bootstrap to exit.
You actually brought up a really good point, because you said that you use the cash advance off your credit, off your credit card. That's leveraging your credit score. You were responsible enough in your personal life where the bank felt comfortable giving you a large unsecured loan to make it happen.
You want to call it, go ahead.
Listen, is it as ideal as something else? No, but at least it's not a large government-backed recourse loan.
Mm.
So
Yeah, so Jason, you're talking about like a personal credit card, right? You're not talking about business credit card.
No, there was no business. I didn't even know what business credit was. There was no DUNS and number and anything like that. It was just a personal credit card I had. I think I took somewhere around $2,500, $3,000 to invest in marketing material and maybe a laptop, at the time, and just went to work. That was it.
I can think of a lot worse things to spend credit card money on.
No, seriously. Like you could buy a new TV, or you can start a business.
Exactly.
And and you're like, it's funny because I had a job too when I started mine, and people are always asking me, it was like, hey, like, should I quit my job to run this? And I was like, no. Like your business isn't like at a point yet for you to quit your job. Like you have money coming into your life. You can use that money to, fund your side hustle.
And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, until your side hustle can replace your or your full-time job can replace your side hustle, right?
I was like, maybe mine's a little bit different.
That leap too. That's a scary leap. When you hit that point, you make the decisions like, can I do this? Because even when you hit that point, at least in my experience, that point of company revenue that you can take through distribution, salary, however you have it structured, it's probably not going to be anywhere close to the salary you're making with your full-time job. Let's be real. So you have to really, really be passionate about it. You have to really have that serious conversation with yourself, because depending on the type of company you started, if you may just be sitting there waiting on the phone to ring, scared. That's where I was at. So so the correct model as well. One of the biggest things is recurring revenue. That's what you want to chase. You want to chase the subscription, and that's probably why. What was the name of the gym, Michael, that has the really good business model? That's why, because they're charging you they're getting that $9 a month, no matter what. Like you said, they don't show up to the gym. They got an empty gym. They got 1,000 members at $9 a month. You know what? Now they have less members to have to support, so the overhead drops and makes them more profitable. So you just kind of want to chase that recurring revenue.
And your CapEx expenses are down because not very many people, like the cable machine's not always broke. It's actually working because nobody uses it.
Exactly. Yeah. All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, figure out what people are willing to pay you for your services, right? It may not be $9, it may be $30 now a month, maybe $100 a month, or whatever it is, right? How much money are people willing to pay you to do whatever? So generally, the point, sometimes it's just to start small, so you can get some wins and successes under your belt, and the more wins and successes that you get, you can charge a little bit more, and then, and you get more successes, more wins, start charging a little bit more
Yep.
until you get to a point where, you find customers who aren't willing to be paying you $10,000 for a website or whatever. And maybe at that point, start thinking about who you want to service.
Right.
I was gonna say, it's like thinking about who you want to service is super important, because the person midtown, fancier side of town, they're very okay paying a $300 a month gym membership for the CrossFit experience. They don't care about the $36 a month Gold's Gym thing. It just doesn't do it for them. They want that very particular experience. So if you want to niche down like that and go after a very affluent market, that's fine. Just have the plan. Don't advertise to the regular individual who has zero interest in that.
Right. No, that's a good point. And that's what I always learned, once I actually got enough, kind of money going where I could reinvest it in marketing strategies. And, I was told by several, marketing consultants and professionals, experts, that really without a target market defined, you really don't have a business. Because you're going to end up wasting a lot of time and a lot of money just throwing your services out there, just hoping someone will buy. When if you actually laser focused on, this service is best for this market, and if you're chasing B2B, so, whether you want to play in the healthcare space, oil and gas, engineering, et cetera, so you define that target market. But then in addition to that, there's some out there that call it an avatar, is who inside that company is the decision maker. Is it a member of the C-suite, or is it an office manager who is traditionally delegated to make, for me, like make the IT decisions? So you figure out who that person is, figure out how to get into that person, and just go from there. So you're right, Michael. Yeah, some people definitely, $3 a month. That's what I want, because I want that level of experience. I don't want the lower end experience. Or if you want the, the cheaper membership and what play more of a quantity over quality play, then, if that's what you want to do, go for it.
Yeah, you guys bring up a bunch of great points here. I think something super important to be clear on is the demand of the market and how much you value yourself. I think that generally speaking, if I value myself at $100 an hour for personal training, I have to start much cheaper than that until I have reached the demand of the market. And then I can charge 100. Once my demand exceeds my competition, I can charge more.
Right.
And so if you use those guidelines within any business model, one, you've got to value yourself. If you think that you're going to make a living off of $25 an hour and train everybody yourself, it's not a living. You may not even survive, even if you have everybody beating down your door. But as demand increases and you've got 100 people asking for training, you can raise your price and let 30 of those people say that's too expensive. You're going to make more money in the long run, and you're going to spend less hours. And then getting a strategy around the competition and the market space, the way you judge that is if you look at your market and it's growing at 20% and your business is growing at anything above 20%, you're essentially beating your competition. And so then you can start to look at whether or not you want to capture more market space at that rate, or whether you would like to raise your rates and maintain the growth that you have. So I think that's something very important. A couple of other things that you guys had talked about were priorities and inflection points.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important that we distinguish as business owners where your priorities are at. It's very different than a 9-to-5 job where you're getting a certain salary and you have a lot of security within that position, other than the fact that you don't know what the company is going to do if they do layoffs. You know that you need to work 9 to 5, you're going to get paid this much, and then you can go home and turn your phone off. Whereas with an entrepreneur, like you said, Henry, do you want to buy a TV or do you want to start a business? It's really that simple. And then to follow that thinking, I'd like to hear a little bit more about the inflection points that you guys had from bootstrapping to going full time. What did that look like from revenue standpoint? What did that look like from time spent standpoint? And then even scaling a little bit further down the line to, now I've been full time for a bit, and here's where, Jason, where I'm going to start backing off of some of the day-to-day IT tasks and focus more on business growth. Same thing for you, Michael and Henry. What does that plan look like for you? If you haven't been there yet, what are you looking for in the future to get there? Can you help our viewers kind of understand how to set some of these goals and milestones and what priorities? Let's be realistic. If you want to come home at 9 or at 5 o'clock and watch TV, this isn't the lifestyle for you.
Right.
It's better that you hear that now than $100,000 later.
Oh yeah.
So let's be honest with our viewers and see if we can help them out a little bit.
It's like, Jason, if you want to go first, because my approach and experience in this looks a little different than what it would
Yeah, it's
traditionally.
different for everybody. I mean, from a bootstrapping, making that decision, to be honest with you, I wasn't super strategic about it. I knew that's what I wanted to do eventually. And I just felt like I was bringing in, and this was all I was just charging per hour at this point. So it was kind of hard to gauge because you never know when that phone's going to ring. But it was ringing enough to make me feel confident that it would keep ringing enough and more, and that I can make it, I can survive. And when I say that, I'm talking about just surviving. I mean, everything the business was bringing in, I was pretty much having to take out, just to make ends meet financially, pay the bills, etc. Not only for the business, but obviously for me personally, because I just left my corporate job. So then you just have to start hustling, and as things grow, to answer kind of the second part is, you get to that point, and kind of back to what I was talking about earlier, delegating and trusting. If you really want to scale, because again, even as a business owner, as you grow, there's only so much time in the day, and again, you're only one person. So what really opened my eyes is when I hit about the $1 million in revenue, I felt like I kind of plateaued because I really hadn't had any help strategically to that point. So, one thing that I did that I always speak highly about is if you feel yourself plateauing and you just need a little bit of help taking that next step, you don't have to swallow so much pride to go out and get an executive or a business coach. Some people feel that way. I do it myself. Well, I didn't, not me. So, I went out, hired an executive coach, and, me and him worked together one-on-one for probably the next 6 years. And he was one that helped me, kind of get to that next level and that next level. But I will kind of leave with one of the best exercises he gave me when it comes to knowing your worth as a business owner, delegation and trust. He said, I want you to go back to your office starting tomorrow. And for the next week, everything you do inside the business, write it down. And if that task isn't $150 an hour task, find someone else to do it. So what I did was I found myself filing away, papers and statements in the filing cabinet, scanning documents. I found myself, just doing just routine tasks that if I would have brought on, an office assistant, office manager, that person could have easily done these small tasks because, that's a $20 an hour task, not $150 an hour. So you delegate that, then you got your time back to do the $150 an hour activities that are ultimately what's going to make you grow that business. So I'll leave you with that.
No, that's interesting. I was kind of the same way, right? As I got more work, I had to figure out, what are some tasks I didn't like to do? And for me, that was building websites and sales and, a few other things. I was like, it took, for me in design, right? It takes like maybe 15, 20 minutes to decide what color I want to do. Where it would take somebody else who have like that design now. I was like, yeah, like this color would be perfect for that. And like it takes them like seconds. So, but I don't have any employees. All my people who work with me or my partners are contractors, right? So as I get like a website contract, I'll bring my website contractor on so that he can take care of the work, right? As I got a copywriter, somebody who wants to write blog articles and stuff, I bring on a copywriter, and so she'll write all the copy and all the blog articles for that. Because as much as I love writing in my journal and writing essays at college and stuff, it just takes too much time and effort for me to like write one blog article where it can take somebody who specializes in that minutes. So I have people surrounding me that do various things that takes up a lot of my time and energy when I could be focused on the things that I like to do, which is I love networking, I love SEO, I love paid ads, also a lot of the analytical stuff because that's how my brain works. And so as bringing people around me to complement my skills and my efforts really helped to grow my business. Just like the president of the United States kind of thing. Like I'm not comparing myself to the president of the United States. I'm just saying that, as any leader, you surround people who are smarter than you to make the smart choices, to do the smart things, so that you can be focused to run the company. You can be focused to on more of a strategic level on how to grow your business.
Nice. Yeah, so then mine was a little different. So I transitioned straight from the military to doing this full time. So my priority was the runway. How much was this going to cost me every month? How much was it going to cost me to put food on the table and take care of my kids every month? Like, and how many months was I going to give myself to make this thing work? And so that was a lot of the planning that I did prior. How I funded it was I sold all my investments and I sold my house. I sold everything and went all in on this idea. And then running into the financial advisory business, it was a little different than what I thought it was going to be. And so the first couple of months was frantically running full time as fast as possible into as many walls as possible until I found my niche. Like that was the number one goal. Who is my target client? So that was goal number one. After I figured that out, then started working on marketing and everything else. My approach for employees are going to be a little bit different. They're going to all end up being W-2 just because of compliance reasons. I need to be able to ensure the deliverables on the other end. Ideally, Henry's approach is better, 1099. It's a lot more cost effective and it allows your partners to take on business in their business, even if it's white labeled through yours, and build their dream instead of them working for you. But depending on what you want to get into is like the whole gym topic that we were on, like ideally, you invite other personal trainers into your gym because their marketing advertising brings you gym memberships. Like at the end of the day, you want more gym memberships. So that's how I ended up approaching mine. It was a little different. But after the product market fit, honestly, my wife is a godsend and does all of the weird office tasks that I find mundane and incredibly painful to do. I'd rather stare at a spreadsheet all day and build out financial forecasts, do pro formas, and net present value and internal rate of return profiles for clients. That's what I prefer to do.
So I think the overarching theme of all of your answers is you ain't going to do this alone. You need some help.
Uh-huh.
And that's going to be whoever is in your family cares about you. You got to have buy-in across the board. Friends, community, all of that stuff is extremely important. So I think the natural question to ask here is, how do we compete with the big boys? And to me, that's partnerships with other small guys, that are in a similar position so that you can lean on each other. So I'm curious to know who y'all partner with, how that works, and why you choose those different businesses, or do you choose based on people? How do you find partners? How do you execute a partnership? How does that help you grow?
Can you please define partner? Are you talking about equity buy-in partnership? Are you talking about an actual two corporations coming together and owning a single corporation underneath? Are we talking about operating agreements between two businesses, like through white labeling services?
All of it, right? Because it's all different and it's all important and it looks different for every business. So I can tell you with Triad, Jason will touch on this here in a minute, but we look at the entire information technology market space and we are laser focused on GRC compliance. So if you own an IT company that does not do cyber compliance, then we're a natural fit for your customers because they need the whole suite of information technology services. And we're not fixing your servers and we're not coming in and fixing your laptops. So our customers when we send emails out to get information from their IT staff and they turn around and go, I'd like to start looking, it helps to have some partners on deck.
So this is a CIO partnership or COI partnership, center of influence. I'll give you an example.
For us,
yeah.
But
Okay.
that may not be the case for your business and
Yeah.
what you're doing,
Okay. I was like, because I was asking, because you got to be real careful with partnerships and having a legal binding agreement with equity involved. Because you got to pick that person. It's basically a marriage. Like you have to be very, very careful. Now, if you have rich uncle again, right, and he's giving you a bunch of money, and he wants equity, that's fine. He's a limited partner. You're the general partner. He's the limited partner. His distribution cut is now passive income. He has no managerial say. And for not having any managerial say, his proceeds are tax advantaged as passive income. So, which is really important. August 1st last year, the SBA changed the rules. You can do SBA loan buy and buyout. So you can do partial like equity transfer through financing. The all general partners, anyone over a 20% equity position, and the business itself all have to guarantee that loan. But going back to the COI portion or how I partner with other people, it's CPA firms and attorneys. Attorneys do not like giving any kind of financial advice, any kind of advice that's outside of their lane. So I get hit up a lot for pro formas. Hey, I got somebody who wants to build this commercial, whatever. Can you run through the numbers? And they pay me to tear it apart to see who's lying, really. And so, and then accountants, it's, hey, I got this guy who keeps surprising me doing weird, crazy voodoo stuff with his numbers on the P&L statement. Can you please tell him to stop? Can you help him with his FP&A so that he can kind of plan what he's going to do so that it's not a dumpster fire at the end of the year during tax season? So those are the kind of partnerships I focus on. Other financial advisory firms have partnerships with larger advisories that handle compliance and back office work. So it looks kind of weird in the finance space. There's a bunch of different options, but that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think for us, you can interchange the word. I think what Josh was coming about, partners for us, is essentially vendors.
Yeah.
It's a vendor agreement. So like if I go out and say, hey, I'm gonna fill your virtual chief information security officer role inside your company, and we're gonna manage your cybersecurity program, and let's say one of the things that we're gonna manage is breach response. Now, we don't do breach response as the operators to come in and do the forensics work and do, the reputational damage, all that and the above, but we have relationships with other companies who can come in and do that. So, we can't offer everything. We want to stay focused and laser focused on exactly what we're good at, which is, as Josh mentioned, the GRC side, doing the compliance effort, governing your entire cybersecurity program, making sure you're managing your risk properly, but other services that correspond with that, is who's managing your IT systems. That could be your IT staff, could be an outsourced IT vendor. So we have partnerships with companies that we can bring to the table.
So then
it's kind of our partnership.
So are you bidding their prices on the RFP? Because I've seen that, and people try and take spreads over top of it. Sorry, request for proposal.
It depends. I mean, there are some that it's going to go both ways. What I'm about to say is, we could appear to be TRIAD be the security team for, say, a managed service provider. So we're essentially what we call on their paper. They're billing the customer for everything, and we're billing them our fees. So
Correct.
The customer never sees our fees. And they can go both ways. Or we have arrangements where there's just an introduction made, a referral, and we do the work directly with the client, and so does the IT company. And we may work out some type of referral fee, and we're able to do that, because we're not regulated in that sense.
I was going to say, I was like, regulation and that contract with that vendor is very important on your end. If you're going to bill them,
100%. That's where
that contract
is
worth the 3 or 4 hours of attorney fees.
Yeah, is all your vendor agreements. So definitely good point, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, same way. Like I have a lot of vendor agreements who work with me. You know, as I talk about, all my contractors, they're all vendors, right? You know, well, whether I'm looking for websites. I mean, just recently, I was contacted for to do some media work for a lawyer for a law firm. They needed to do they needed new videos of some SMEs for some like talking head videos and new photography and whatnot. And you know, I don't do that myself, but I have people, I have relationships surround me that do that. So I just grab that contract and say, hey, I mean, I can fulfill this. Reach out to my vendors. Reach out to my contractor. Say, hey, man, I got this contract. Is this something that you can do? They say yes. I bring everybody into the conversation, and I charge a little fee on top, a little finder's fee on top of that, and fulfill that contract. Right? It just really depends. And then I also have referral partners. So you know, like business coaches. Michael is a referral partner of mine. You know, Jason is too, and we just pass referrals back and forth as we find somebody who needs a service that you know that's completely outside. They may need a business audit, or they may need some IT work. I just pass those on because I know that everybody on this call does good work, and so I don't have to worry about my reputation being tarnished by bad actors
Because you've done your due diligence.
There you
because
go.
I've done my due diligence.
Yeah, partners is a loaded term for sure. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that I really picked up from you guys is it's not just about the quality of the service, it's the quality of the person that provides the service. I think that when it comes to especially long-term relationships based on recurring revenue with any referral partner, any white label, any full-time partner that's a general partner or limited partner, it's all about the person. Do you guys have the same vision? Do you have the same character? Do you have the same bandwidth? Right? I think that's if somebody's going to buy into your business or buy into you to trust you enough for referral, it's really important that you refer them to somebody else who walks, talks, and smells like you do, because that's what they've grown to expect. So I think that's a very good point. That you've got to your community has to be your culture. So I know we're running out of time here. The way I like to end these things is to kind of go around and offer one piece of encouragement to any veteran that may be getting ready to dive into the topic that we discussed here today. My piece would be understand where you are. Draw a line in the sand of where you are. Draw a line in the sand of where you want to go. Figure out how much time you're willing to take to get there. And then do not stop until you either get there or you run out of time. You've got to put your nose down and go.
I think for me, it would be, find your passion. Don't be scared to chase it. Once you figure it out and you're chasing it, do it under a really good set of core values. I know we didn't touch on core values a lot, but be honest, be fair, do right by your customers because the saying holds true. If they don't like you and they don't trust you, they're not going to buy from you. So just make sure you're operating fair and you're doing right. You're doing the things that you're supposed to, and you'll be successful.
Be comfortable being uncomfortable. If you can just be comfortable doing the thing that makes you nervous or that you hate doing, it goes a very long way. And not wrapping up your identity in your job. Yes, it's very important that you take it very, very seriously, that this thing is life or death that you're holding on with two hands. But if you're married and you have children and you spend 90 hours a week doing this without prepping your wife first, it's not going to be a great time. So having your family buy-in and the expectation management of what this thing is that you're about to go do is very important.
Yeah, man. Surround yourself with good people, growth-orientated people. Find yourself mentors, absolutely, to ask tons of questions. Now, when you find yourself a mentor and they give you a piece of advice, take that advice, do it, go back to that mentor and say, hey, I did this thing. This is how it turned out. What should I do next? Right? If you go back to that mentor with those three things, saying that exact statement, they will give you more advice for you to grow your business.
That's awesome. I think all of that is extremely valuable information. So I'd like to take a moment. Thank you guys. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Henry, for joining us today. Thank you, everybody who's watching this right now. And until next time, this has been TRIAD InfoSec's Veterans Helping Veterans webinar. We'll see you next time.